Kate Middleton has been spotted with Prince William over the weekend visiting a local farm shop about a mile from their home in Windsor. So, is all well again with the Duchess of Cambridge after all? Former BBC royal correspondent Jennie Bond joins us now. Jennie, some footage has appeared, some photos have appeared of Kate Middleton with Prince William this weekend. She looks a little different, I would suggest. Is this the start of her coming back into public life, do you think?
Good morning. Yes, I think it is. She was looking, I thought, a little thinner, but and I don't think she got much makeup on. But otherwise, it was definitely Catherine, despite the internet trolls still picking it apart and saying this is not Catherine. It is an imposter. It is a double. This was Catherine and William going to the shop very near their home, as you say, at the weekend, doing a little shopping. I mean, I think probably it was designed to show that she still is around and is improving, and that all these ridiculous theories are just that, quite absurd. So I think it has been very reassuring. Certainly, all the papers have put out lovely messages saying, "Yeah, welcome back, Kate."
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. She looked a little thinner, although her face I thought looked a little fuller, and that can sometimes happen after medication and surgery and all of those things. You might be slightly physically changed, but I would agree with you entirely that it is clearly her. She did look happy and laughing and all that, but it's very hard to know, Jenny, isn't it? Whether or not, I mean, they've had such a nightmare in terms of PR gaffes, particularly since the last photo, that she was hardly going to go out and not look smiling and laughing. There must be an awful pressure on them to perform at this point in public.
A terrible amount of pressure, and particularly on her, after the debacle about the photograph she issued on Mother's Day, which I'm sure your listeners will know about. She's been under even more intense pressure, and obviously she knew that being in public, people were going to recognise her. She must have seen people staring at her in the shop, and it did seem odd that no one had taken a picture or a video because everyone has a camera these days. But for the first sort of 24 hours, it seemed no one had done that. But then someone came up with this footage. He had seen her in the shop, and William. He had had a sort of sneaky peek and thought, "Gosh, I know those faces." Then he went back to his car and got out his phone and took some video of her. And I think news organisations have been thinking quite hard about whether or not to use that footage, which was taken, without their permission, but on public property. And so, or at least in public, I suppose it is on the Windsor Great Estate, but in public. But most people decided they would run it because the public needed reassurance that she is on the mend. Just as the palace have already always said, she's going to take a long time to get over this operation, but clearly she's making good progress, as they have said.
Yeah. Jenny, has the palace mishandled this? It, obviously, King Charles, we know that he is suffering with cancer. We know a kind of cancer, and there's very little speculation about him. Whether he turns up or not to events currently, because people are aware of what's going on. Was it a mistake for the palace to? Abdominal surgery and she'll be missing for 6 months is sort of fairly cryptic. Has the void created by the lack of information been part of the problem here, do you think?
Yes, exactly that. They have got to, I think, realize that things have changed, and the idea of never explain really doesn't work in the modern world. I think it's terribly sad because I think if a woman has a serious operation and she wants to keep it private, she should be allowed to do just that and recover in her own time. But unfortunately, in the real world, as you say, it is the void that has been filled with these absurd rumours. And then the mainstream media started coming on board with at least reporting those rumours, which I think was sad. And so I think probably 4 or 5 weeks ago, the palace should have done what they did with Charles, which is perhaps have a photo taken of her looking at get well cards or something like that. Just a smidgen to show that yes, she is up and about. She is real. She hasn't gone and have some of the a Brazilian bum lift or had a terrible haircut and she's hiding a facelift. She's hiding from the world. She's in a coma. All these things that have
Yeah.
been splashing around on the internet. It's just daft.
No, and I suspect, If it was a different person, as you say, a private person, this would be truly awful. The royals do live very different lives. They are to some extent public property, and I suppose that is a consequence of living, perhaps as heads of state, but also on the public purse.
It is. That's what people have said. We pay for you. You tell us everything. And I think, well, what do you want the woman to do? Do you want her to rip off her clothes and show us the scar? I mean, it's gone too far. I think it became cruel, and I think she's been very upset by it. But she's a cheerful woman. She's a confident woman, and hopefully this hasn't knocked her back too far, either physically or mentally.
Look, thank you very much for joining us this morning. That is former BBC Royal correspondent Jennie Bond.